that's me. And she's like, oh, that's wonderful. And she'll still pick another character. But that one sounds more like you. She's thought I was Travis Willingham at some point. I'm like, there are worse people to be mistaken for. She thought I was Monica Rial. I'm like, Mom, please. My own mother. And she's so mortified by that. She's like, I'm your mother, I should be able to tell you. I'm like, and study. Watch all my stuff. Get to know me. But yeah, it's really funny. And so for that reason, like, and so every time I'm like, we're together with my family, like, do a voice. I'm like, okay, what voice? They're like, I don't know, one of those voices. It's really, really funny. But I did voices a lot as a kid, so just I'm kind of schizophrenic. I have a lot of personalities, so acting is not very much of a stretch. I'm just like, who? I open up my bag of people. Who should I be today? Yeah. But I do that when I'll go in public and stuff, and like, depending on where I am, I will be a different character. So maybe it's a character I played, maybe it's just a character I've made up, and I'll be someone different everywhere I go. I'm never really real. I'm like a giant wardrobe. See, that's going to be me as an old man. I will be Isaac Dean when I'm an old man. And I get dumber. I'm pretty close now, pretty close, but I'm a little smarter than Isaac, so I can't really pull it off. Oh, I love Isaac. Whenever I shop for clothes, that's the voice that comes out. Can I see those fitting room, please? You have this in a size 4. I just want to see if it'll fit around my leg. So that's a hat. I know! All right, way in the back there. Yes, with the boop.
Of the characters that you played, do you have a favorite?
Everyone asks that question. You know, the truth is I have a lot of favorites. And Isaac Dean is certainly one of them. But the character, obviously, I mean, as an actor, I feel very, very strongly that I should love every character I'm doing, because if I can't find something to love, or something that makes that character my favorite in the here and now, I feel it's a failure of my own imagination, and I don't want my imagination to fail. I keep my imagination very well fed on fantasy and delusion. And it makes acting much easier. So it really, when people ask me, like, who's my favorite character, like, it really happens to be whoever I happen to be voicing at the moment. So if there's like 8, 9 characters that I'm voicing in the same day, which happens very frequently, I'm like, they're all my favorite, yay! But naturally, in retrospect, the characters that I go back and watch time and time again, they're characters that I would love even if I had nothing to do with bringing them to life in English. So for that reason, I think Isaac Dean is was a wonderful creation, and I love that character, and would continue loving him even if he wasn't my character. I feel the same way about Kilya, I feel the same way about Lawrence and Spice and Wolf, and I feel the same way about Sebastian, who I think is really amazing. I like Sebastian more as a character than I do as a real idea. If he was a real dude, I would run the hell away. I'm like, you're cute! Bye! I want none of that, none of that. No, thank you, no drama, thank you. But the truth is really all of them at some point, and they all kind of stay with me, and they all become part of this already very crowded room of personalities that are, you know, duking it out in my head. And they come out, you know, at car dealerships or drive-thrus, and sometimes all at the same time, and it confuses the hell out of everybody. You really should see me go through a drive-thru. I'll order for like 4 people, and it's just me. I just routine all the time, like, oh yes. And it's like, you know, if, in real life, if I have like 4 people in the car, I'm never the guy driving that's like, no, you're all going to order yourselves. I'm not going to be the mouthpiece, because then you sound like an idiot. Because then you're like, yes, I'll have a cheeseburger and a Coke, and a cheeseburger and a Coke, and a cheeseburger and a Coke, and a cheeseburger and a Coke. So, you know, because no one's like, we can't, like, quick math. Okay, I'll have 4 cheeseburgers, 4 Cokes, and 4 fries. So I ordered for myself and was like, oh yes, I'll have a number 6. Oh, I want fries with that! Shut up! I was like chicken nuggets. This isn't McDonald's! No, and then they pull up and they're all like, that's a long story. And I was like, can I catch up? Thank you, bye, 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 bye! And I order multiple meals because I figure, hey, they're gonna get one of them, right? They play fast and loose in the drive-thru, especially when you do voices and like, just give him whatever the hell will make him go away. Extra straws? Fine. Does he want one of our hats? Give him one of our hats. Get him the hell out of line. How did that happen? What was the question? Did I answer your question, by the way? She's not even paying attention anymore, I must have. Let's see, you there in the back with the bright light in front of you, are you trying to hypnotize me with something? Are you like, come toward the light? Because I'm very easy to hypnotize. I'm like, okay.
But anyway, what's the funniest thing that's happened to you or that you've done while being a voice actor?
Funniest thing I've done or that's happened to me, that's a lot of stuff. Okay, this is an Isaac Dean story. The man with super stretchy arms is like, and it does. They look like they're on either side of the aisle when he does that. It's really incredible. You're like a floodgate. No, okay, so Isaac Dean was one of the first characters I ever had the chance to portray in some of the newer studios that Funimation had built when they changed locations about 4 years ago or so. And before that, every character I had voiced was in what we call whisper rooms, which are these makeshift studios. They're very lovely, they get the job done, but they're very tiny. They're essentially boxes that barely fit people mine or Travis Willingham's size. Forget about getting more than one of us in there at a time, because it's like, hi. Oh, I hope one of us showered. But they're very small, and the window in those booths tend to be just like in the door, and so you can't really see out, they can't see in unless when you're on mic, because the mic's over here, the window's over here. So it has this wonderful sense of privacy, and so I tend to be very animated. When no pun intended, I tend to be very, very lively, and because I tend to use my body a lot to get the voices. I mean, when you do really crazy voices like that, you just can't help it. Certain things have to sound like your body's moving a certain way, or it sounds really flat on the screen. Again, no pun intended. So, Isaac was the first character of any depth, or any length, I should say, that I got to voice in these studios that were like, here's the mic, here's this giant wall of glass, and on the other side, the director and the recording engineer can see everything you do. And for some reason, when voicing Isaac, I mean, it's obvious, I kind of imitate what's going on in the animation, but to like the ninth power, so I'm like, and I would just take these crazy gestures. And when we're done with the take, I would tend to freeze in position to sort of stay where I needed to be in case we had to come back in and get another line for a second try. It was just a way to keep it moving. And so I'd just be like, or something all the time, or like hugging myself. And this happened very frequently, where Tyler Walker, the show's director, and Corey Charlotte, the recording engineer, would be out there like, let's do this, and we can just take blah, 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 blah. The cowboy always keeps his guns right here. And I'd stay like this. And there'd be silence. And I'm waiting for them to fit it to see if it works, if we need to get a take, and I'm like, hearing crickets. And so I'll kind of break, pose, and look, and to just see Tyler and Corey just staring at me.